So again, this is our first webinar session of the next 2 days. And so excited to introduce the experts with you here today. And just so what we're going to do during this time is we are going to talk about, again, we're talking about starting off with a new business and how you continue to make one successful if you already have that. And then talk about all those different skills to have, the right productivity mindset, the right sales, all that stuff combined. So during this session, you're going to get to hear from two amazing speakers. So we have Hannah Reitz, who is Director of Business Operations at Gifted Travel Network. So welcome. And then we also have Robin Bradley, who is co-founder and CEO of Tique. This is going to be good. It's going to be so great. And so how we're going to do this today is, at first, I'm going to hand it off to Hannah, who will focus on developing, that right business mindset, going over those first steps that you should be taking, when starting a new business. And then we're going to hand it off to Robin after that, who will talk about, sharing those tips and tricks on staying organized, productive, and just thriving. So it's going to be really cool. And I'm going to share this afterwards, but we created a PDF handout of all of their notes because there's going to be a lot. So definitely take them as they're talking, but know that we will also have a note handout for you after this. And then hopefully we'll have time for Q&A at the end as well. So put those questions in the Q&A panel, and I'll be watching for those. So when we get done, we will hopefully be able to answer some of those burning questions. So with all that said, I know that was a mouthful there. Hannah, I'm going to let you take it away. I'll let you share your screen.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah. Oops.
I appreciate that.
That was my bad. I had music going on my end. Okay, there you go.
That's okay. Let's get this started. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. So thank you guys for having me today. I am so excited. As Stephanie said, my name is Hannah Reitz. I am Director of Business Operations at Gifted Travel Network. We are a host agency, and I am just excited to be a part of this. This is such an amazing time to join the travel industry. No matter where you're from, even if you've been in the industry and you're just now starting a business in travel, or if you've come from a different industry, this is a really, really exciting time to get started and a really exciting time to build that framework for a really successful business. So I hope we can get some clean takeaways for you today for your business, and you just continue to stay inspired, because that's the big part of being an entrepreneur, is having that inspired mindset. And one thing I wanted to start with my presentation with that mindset is that growing a business is not a linear process. So just understanding that you're going to come up, with different times where you're feeling like you're hitting a wall, or different challenges that you face, but just know that's just part of the journey, and take that and like you're doing today, you're coming in and educating yourself, you're learning, you're staying in that educational space where you know that there's so much to learn as an entrepreneur, and there's so many areas where you're going to need to refocus at times. But right now, if you really are new in this space, I'm sure you have that really motivated mindset where you're just ready to take this and just grow, and you're just super excited. So just stay there. And when you find yourself getting overwhelmed, just making sure that you stay inspired. And, when you hit those roadblocks, that you readjust and you look and you see, what areas can I work in my business that might help? Does this mean I need to add on an employee? Do I need to outsource something so I can really have clear focus on what my main initiative, my main goal is for my business? So with that, it all starts with a vision and a plan, right? One of the things that I really love when I talk to new to the industry advisors is where they're coming from and what their vision was when they came up with the idea, I want to be a travel advisor. Was it a family friend or someone who was like, you're really good at this, you should do this as your day job? Or, just something that inspired you on the trips that you've taken, and you're like, I want to do this for my clients. This is the service I want to provide. So you started with that vision, and now let's go to your plan. Like, how do you make this work? How do you become a really, really successful travel advisor and business owner? So these are just some practical 5 lines that I wanted to bring to you that you can take away. Maybe if you've had a business class, these might be some things that you have in that business plan, so you kind of understand this. And then I want to kind of put it into the travel industry. So you want to have a business overview. You want to know your target market. you want to build a marketing plan, an operational plan, and a financial plan. So those are the 5 key takeaways that I want you to take from me today as far as building your business plan. With the business overview, what's really, really critical is that you are really clear on your vision so that other people are clear on what you're going to provide and your secret sauce, like we kind of like to call it. What is it that you're going to bring and that value that you're going to add to them? And you're going to include that in your core compelling message. So when someone goes to your website and they read up about you, they know exactly what you that you're going to be able to bring in your target market, and you're going to have that ideal client come to you because your message resonates with them. So you're clearly articulating the benefits that you're going to offer them. Then, like I said, the target market. You want to really hone in on who is your ideal client. So when you're sitting down and making this formal business plan, you really want to sit down and strategize and think about who is this person? Personalize it. Think about someone in your community who resonates with you as someone that you want to be your ideal client. How are you going to be able to get in front of them, know where they go, know who like brands that they shop, ways that you're going to get in front of them in the community was going to be really beneficial for you to really hone in on that target market and knowing that as much nuance as you can. So it's not just their demographic, their age range, but really honing in on that person, maybe even making an avatar and pinpointing what that person looks like so that you can really have a clear vision of who you want to service as your client. And then you're going to attract that. So that's really important to really hone in on that and be really clear at the beginning of your business. So marketing, I set up into 2 pieces. You got marketing assets and branding. This also is all about your voice and really putting out, selling yourself as this whole package. And it all makes you look really polished and professional when you have all this laid out and it's congruent in all aspects of your business. So this includes in your website, in your email signature, anything that's going to be client facing. You want to make sure that your brand assets include your fonts and your branding colors, that all is congruent and works with that message that you're trying to bring across, and just makes you look really professional and polished when you do that. This is an area that I would highly recommend that you outsource. I wouldn't DIY this per se. Even if you have a marketing background, you might really find that it's helpful to lean on a professional, as you want people to see you as a professional and an expert in travel. You want to, lean on those marketing experts too to help, build this brand for you. And then a marketing plan. So you want to map out your strategies, your list building strategies, how you're going to bring those clients in. You're going to have a newsletter. How often a week are you going to send out these emails or these posts on social media? Trying to really get those touch points and trying to bring in those ideal clients for your business. So you're going to have those prospects that you're going to constantly reach out to and eventually hopefully close business with them and make them long-term clients. So you want to map this out on a calendar, be really intentional about the day and time that you send out your pieces. So if you're doing an e-zine, which is like an electric newsletter, you would want to make sure that you're consistent on when you send it out. If you're going to do it weekly, monthly, or quarterly, that you're consistent, because people are going to become looking for it. And you want them to see that as a consistent thing that they can look for. And it's also a way for you to prove that you're the professional, you're the expert in travel, and that you're bringing them this information. So the first person that's on their mind when they're ready to make that trip is you, because you're the expert and you're the one who's been in their inbox constantly, weekly. You've been making those diligent posts. And sometimes you'll feel like, I don't really feel like this is getting anywhere, but really there's going to be those people back there just watching and waiting, and they're going to reach out to you because you're going to be seen as the expert. So it's really important to have that strategy in place for your marketing and building your client list. And as a director of operations, I appreciate a good operational plan and understanding systems and building a really good system and using really great tools. I'm going to put in a little plug here, making sure you have a really great travel itinerary tool like Travify, things like that that are just going to really wow your clients and just, from start to finish, have that full client care cycle, so that they see that this is an amazing service that you're providing, the value that you have. Having the right CRM system in place, just all of those management systems that are going to help you be productive, and that you're working, smarter, not harder. So you get those systems in place at the very beginning of your business. You see that as an investment. Not, I know it's going to be expensive at first. Just know when you're starting up a business, any business, there's going to be a lot of upfront costs. But if you do that in a smart way, this is all an investment, and you're going to have so much return on your investment if you get those things in place at the very beginning. So this is the framework, something that you really want to think out and understand the full client care cycle and the systems that you need to make yourself as efficient as possible. And last is your financial plan. And somehow this one sometimes seems to get lost there on that business plan, and it really shouldn't. This should be something that you really focus on. You really have understanding your numbers. You want to set goals. Anything in your business, you want to have goals to achieve. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you accountable. So you want to make sure that you understand where your numbers are at, understand those revenue drivers. If you understand that, then you can really pinpoint areas that you need to focus on, and maybe other areas that aren't really bringing in that investment, the return on investment that you thought. So just understanding those goals, following those goals, and then regularly updating your projections. And another place here that you want to outsource is an accountant. You want to make sure that you have a professional doing that for you, but you still are in the know of your numbers and you set those goals. So hopefully those 5 takeaways as far as what you want to set up for your business plan were really helpful for you, and you took some little nuggets there that'll help you to continue in your business journey. And now I'm going to send this back over to Stephanie.
Yay.
And then so we can hear from Robin. I'm excited about Robin's presentation.
Yes. Oh, this was perfect. Okay, so this was the most perfect, great presentation of this entire boot camp because it was such a great overview of everything. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, okay, all of, how to get those ideas on how to have, because to do everything that Hannah explained, you have to have the productivity, the concentration, the right mindset, all of that good stuff that's really important. And so perfect handoff. I'm going to send it over to Robin now so we can make the most out of what Hannah just taught us.
Amazing. Yeah, no, this is going to balance so well. You really nailed it when you plan these out. Okay, let me go over here and present. Good. We see it. Presentation and everything.
Yes. Yep. Can see it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, this is going to be that perfect marriage because we just talked really big picture, which is so important. Do not skip on making a roadmap for your business and then reevaluating it. We actually have it on our calendar monthly or quarterly to go back and evaluate certain parts. Our marketing is evaluated monthly, operations, yearly, all of that good stuff. So that was awesome. But today I'm going to get into the nitty gritty takeaway, because a lot of times as a new CEO, especially, you are typically a team of one when you're first starting out, but you're juggling all the balls at one time. So you're the director of sales, you're the director of marketing, you are like a true CEO with your hands in all the pots. So I am going to give you my system because it is very easy to get overwhelmed, which is why I have created a system for organizing that never-ending to-do list. And just a quick disclaimer, this is what works for me. So you can try it out, take pieces of what you love and create your own system on what works for you. Because ultimately that's where I came to this organizational system I'm in. I am one of those people who will binge a good podcast on organization until, I can't listen to anything anymore. So I've taken all those pieces from different people, and what works for them is what created my system. So I encourage y'all to kind of do the same, because ultimately your organization or your system that you create, the worst thing you can do is not use it. So what we're going to be covering is prioritizing your task list, figuring out where your priorities are, where they lie, organizing and optimizing your calendar to ensure that you stay on task and you stay productive throughout the days and weeks. And then scheduling reoccurring CEO days. This is definitely not something we created, but it's something we, at Tique hit home and talk about a lot, is the importance of a good CEO day. So we'll dive into what it is, why we recommend having it in your business, and all that good stuff. So let's dive in. First, we're going to talk about prioritization. And just like when you go to deep clean any room in your house, the first step to getting that deep clean is taking everything out so that you can figure out what you even have and then putting it all back into place. So we're going to kind of brain dump. I love a good brain dump. So like the very first thing before we start is we're going to list the departments of your business. And it's really funny because when Hannah was giving her presentation, these departments very much mirror exactly what she was talking about in her business plans. So if you're sitting here and you're like, Robin, I'm a team of one, I don't have departments, I just started. Try to think of yourself like big picture goals, 5-10 years down the line, when you're absolutely killing it, what departments you have in place then. And if you're still kind of lost, how I organize my business and how we organize Tique, I put them into banks of admin, operations, marketing, sales, and then vision and growth is kind of like our catch-all, striving for greatness type of thing. So what I will do next is get to the big, huge brain dump of tasks. So this is where we're going to brain dump every single task that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, all of the things that you do to keep your business running. And no task is too small. So answering emails, like creating social media captions, getting stock images for your social media, updating your website, researching dinner spots for your client itineraries, all of that stuff flows just out of you. Turn on like, some of those like Spotify playlist tunes and just kind of get into the flow of listing it all out. You can also kind of have a task. When I had our team do all of this, I had a task on my like browser in the corner of like all the tasks I would do during the week. So even the small things would just go brain dump over there. And then once you have all of that task, we're going to organize it into those departments, those big, huge buckets at the top. So for example, sales calls, like client sales calls would go under sales, social media content planning or scheduling would go under marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, we're going to specify how often you do each of those tasks. Is it something that you tackle on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever it is, you'll assign it to a department, and then you'll assign how often that task comes up for you and your business. And it should be a huge, expansive list, again, especially if you are a solopreneur in the beginning, like most of us. So for example, organizing your inbox, that's a daily task that probably goes under admin. Brainstorming social media content, again, that's a marketing thing. And I personally do that monthly, but I might schedule my social media content in Planoly or later or wherever I, if I do even schedule it, or if I'm like a post day of type of person, that would be like a weekly task and so on. So the list may seem a little overwhelming, but we're going to use this list to map out the daily tasks to keep you on track each week, using a system that kind of gives you that clear direction for each day, week, month of the year. I also find it very freeing to be able to sit down on either a Sunday or a Monday morning, look at your calendar for the week and have an idea of what's coming up. Because a lot of times in the travel industry, it's like, especially in summer, it's a little bit like chaos kind of going in all cylinders. So when you can at least control the controllables, it gives you a greater sense of like true CEO power with like your forecasting view ahead. So it'll keep you productive and focused and let you know exactly what's on your plate that day, week, etc. So from there, we have all of our tasks. So next step is we're going to talk calendars. This has truly helped me prioritize and stay productive throughout the week. So I'm going to show you a typical week inside of my actual Google Calendar. I don't know why, but I love like looking at people's calendars. I don't know if that's just a me thing. I hope it's not, but I find it fascinating to see how people organize their life. It's kind of like when people on Pinterest will post like their fridge and like how organized it is. It like inspires you a little bit to get your fridge together. So I'll have a behind the scenes look at my personal calendar. But where I start is each week, I will evaluate what is on my calendar and assign it as either a rock, pebble, or sand. So if you have a jar and you have to fill all this, rocks and stuff inside the jar, the very first things that would go in the jar are the rocks. So those are what is going on my calendar first. These are those immovable tasks like scheduled client calls or supplier meetings, trainings like this, anything that has a set date, time, somebody else will be on the call with you, things like that. The next thing we would put in the jar is our pebbles. These are the important tasks that should 100% be prioritized and finished during the week, but you have a little bit more flexibility to move them around. So things like scheduling social media content for the week, that definitely needs to be done so that I know next week I can sit down and not have to worry about cranking out 5, moment grabbing captions on Instagram, but I have the ability to, move that around my rocks. Things like auditing upcoming trips in Travefy, making sure all the details are in there. So that needs to happen before the trips occur. But again, you have a little bit more flexibility on it. And then the very last thing is the sand. So these are the filler tasks that can go just about anywhere. So like answering emails, managing your inbox, requesting quotes from suppliers, stuff like that. So whatever calendar system you have, I use Google Calendar. I create a calendar type for each of those departments that we outlined back when we brain dumped our tasks. So over here on the side, you'll see I have like a operations calendar, a marketing calendar, an executive calendar. So those are meetings that just are for me and Jen. Programs and services. We're in the middle of refining our programs and services. So that's a big thing that requires brain capacity. So that's a calendar. And then I also will have a I have a Robin Bradley calendar. And those are for personal appointments and reminders. So for example, I have 2 English bulldogs and they're both having surgery this week. It's a rock. It needs to be on my calendar, but it does not fit into my true business. So that's kind of my catch-all for doctor's appointments, things like that. So when I sit down for the week, I will look at my calendar and I will put the rocks on the calendar first. So, if you use a scheduler like Calendly, typically that can be set up for you. So when people are requesting to talk to you about your services or maybe work with you on a trip, they'll be put on your calendar, and then the pebbles and sand will come and go around them. So once I have my rocks, I will go in, and my pebbles, those are the things that I'm prioritizing for the week. So new service tasks, again, we're refining our services. So I have a dedicated brain space. It's on my calendar. I treat it like a meeting. I don't let people book time during that space, because that is when I am podcast headphones in, grinding through and trying to get into one of those flow states so that I can accomplish what needs to be done during those tasks. So my sand, what I do for me personally, and this could be different for everybody, but for me, my sand goes on a daily to do at the top of my calendar. So it's labeled task list. And then because I'm a little bit of an organization freak, I actually label it as need to do, should do, want to do. And then as my pebbles come up and I finish my pebble, or my rock meeting is over maybe 15 minutes early, I'll just bounce over to my sand and then complete those tasks as I am able. If I can get to my should do and want to do, wonderful. But if not, I move them and I'll copy and paste them over to the next day based on what that schedule is looking like. So that's how I organize my Google Calendar. Again, I don't know what it is. It's a voyeuristic thing to see people's calendars. So I hope you found that helpful. There is another way to time block if you are not a traditional, I don't want things on my calendar type of thing. To stay productive, there's a couple different ways to do it. So the traditional sense that everyone typically talks about is time blocking your days based off specific tasks. So you should kind of have an idea of how you work best. For me, I'm most creative in the morning. I don't know if it's I haven't made a decision yet. So my brain is on full cylinder, but I do any marketing and social bright and early in the morning when people aren't really in my inbox yet and I haven't used too much brain space. And then social media captions, that'll run over. I block for an hour for lunch, whatever it is. You just kind of segment your day based on certain tasks. Another option to that, because we do live in a travel industry that has a little, you have to be on call sometimes to ensure clients are happy and getting where they need to be successfully. So another option is day blocking. So you set up specific days of the week for specific tasks. So when I was booking travel, I could not do Monday morning meetings. I could not do Monday meetings in general, and I could not do Friday meetings. So I time blocked so that my client work was like in the middle of the day. And I allocated Monday and Friday to admin things, going in and checking my sales numbers, my close rates, updating my financial spreadsheet, which is crazy, but I'm like, I love a good financial spreadsheet. So those are the things I would tackle on Monday or Friday. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are my heavy client call days. So I would, if people had client calls booked with me, great. If I wasn't working on those, on those calls, I was working on their itineraries, and it was a big, I'm in Travify, putting in all my client details. I'm communicating with suppliers. I'm sending out quotes, stuff like that. And then Wednesday was marketing, because it's important as a small business to get your name out there and prioritize that. So that's day blocking, which could also work really well for you. And then the third option, which is actually kind of cool, I learned about it from Shannon Matson of the Social Bungalow, but this is kind of a combination of the two. So you'll use specific days for time blocking, and specific days are day blocked and specific days are time blocked. So on Monday, you want to tackle all your admin tasks, but on Wednesday, you need a little bit more flexibility to just take what comes at you that week. So you'll time block the week to get it, maybe you have extra admin that you just know you need to schedule into a different day of the week. So it's a little bit of a combo. Again, I think I use a little bit of a combo because that's just what works best for me, but different seasons of your business could be different. So please know it takes some trial and error to see what truly works for you. And you kind of have to practice and stick to it. A lot of people are like, well, I tried it, but I didn't really like it. And I'm like, how long did you try it for? Because sometimes it takes a little bit of discipline. So practicing that discipline increases your productivity discipline as well. Cool. So last but not least, I want to talk about CEO days. These, again, I don't even know where I heard of these, but I'm very big on them, and we encourage them in our business now. But a CEO day is a scheduled day in your calendar where you work on your business rather than just in your business. So by working on your business, you're sitting down to actually focus on, I'm changing CRMs from this to this, on this day in March, I'm only doing CRM audits, or I'm only doing, I'm remapping my client experience. It feels weird. It feels sticky. I'm going to sit down and mind map my new client experience and start writing those emails or whatever it is. I have some ideas, a lot of ideas. You can do anything on your next CEO day. A lot of times it always happens when I'm driving, I think, because I'm not doing a million other things. But when I'm driving, I'll have an idea for a podcast episode that I think would be really cool that I want to pitch to somebody, or I have a blog post idea come out of the middle of nowhere that I think would be so beneficial that travel advisors would love to hear. So I write it down. But on a CEO day, that's when I actually take the time to tackle those tasks that are not client related. Because we get so caught up in the client work that sometimes we forget to step away from clients to actually focus on our business. Because you want to grow the business, you want to make sure your marketing's on point. So whether it's auditing your workflow CRM or, building out a better welcome series for when people sign up for your newsletter, it's one of those days dedicated to that. But if you are like me, who has ever needed permission to take a day to just cool your jets for a minute, you can do that as well. There are times I think it's funny as travel advisors, we're always use your PTO, go on vacations, but then we don't necessarily use PTO ourselves. So if you're at that point of burnout, do not push through it. You deserve a break and space too. So your CEO day truly can be a moment to sit back, get your nails done if that's soothing to you, go for a massage, or just step away from your office to actually get re-inspired or re-motivated to, work inside the business again. So yeah, we have a whole blog post that I went really in depth about CEO days. I actually sent it to Stephanie, so I'm sure she'll send it out with that big, huge PDF of all of our notes. But yeah, that was it for me. So let me go ahead and stop
Awesome.
sharing.
That
I'll
was
go back
so
over
great.
you.
Yes, I just sent it. So I didn't want to give away all of the juicy details before we started. So the handout is out now. So I know a lot of people are asking for that. Yeah, and someone just said, "Wow, great information." I like looking at calendars too, Robin. I like have this. I thought I was the only one. I love doing that too. Like, what
Oh
are
yeah.
people doing today? Uh, but so amazing to both Hannah and Robin. I have a couple things before we get into questions because we did have questions come in, but I have a couple plugs. So one, the first thing was that PDF handout. So I put that in the chat, but also I'm going to put it on newtravelagentbootcamp.com. So it'll be on there after this. Another plug is, okay, so Robin mentioned, put on some good music and just like get work done. Well, guess what? We have a playlist we made for this event. So I'm gonna throw that in there. So Spotify playlist. You can also get that at new travel agent bootcamp.com. And then the last thing, because this just made it so many things I thought of when both Hannah and Robin were speaking. But one is we have a podcast at Travify, and literally the last episode, I think it came out last week, was with Martin Mussey, and it was from Travel Leaders, and it was literally about time management. Highly recommend. So I'm going to throw that in there too. So really awesome. And one other thing too, that just since we're on the topic of, you just wrapped up, Robin, is I think it's really important again to note, because I saw a couple chats like, oh my gosh, it's so great to do that until a flight gets canceled, which is like happening a lot right now. But I think it's really important to note too, again, how you mentioned, like with the time blocking, make sure you keep time that's open for that stuff to fall into, because your whole day could easily get hijacked.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
get hijacked, especially in the summer, especially when there's a storm on the radar. I used to, when I first started, and this is like a little bit back, but when I first started, I was like hour by hour time blocking. Didn't work for me, didn't work for the industry. 1000% I agree with that. That's why when the pebbles are there and I know I need to do it, great, but I leave room. You have to leave room, and you have to bend to your business. Like, set boundaries for yourself, but don't be so rigid that you can't have some flex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so important too with the summer. It's just insane. But yeah, and so many cool comments too. So Megan just said, this is unbelievably helpful. Thank you. Yes. So good. I told you, everyone, this is going to be a good kickoff. I was very excited about this webinar. Okay. So this is a question. This goes to both of you, Hannah and Robin. Is Nicole asked, do you have any recommendations for finding business coaches to assist with marketing and branding? And I'll let either one go.
We have had some experts that we've recommended, and unfortunately the person's name escapes me at the moment. But I would definitely do some research on it and see who speaks to you as far as what your needs are for your brand, and also reaching out in the community and finding, hopefully you have a community of advisors that you've kind of helped to be kind of part of your group too, that you work together with, and maybe get some of those recommendations from seasoned advisors who've used people, word of mouth would be a really great way to start.
Tique, our business actually does branding. We focus on the whole brand experience. So we do branding, but we also do systems as well. So with the actual design of your brand, like creating a logo, creating your, identifying your ideal audience, all of that fun stuff, we have those resources and services available through us. If you go on our Instagram, we post a lot of our work to see if you're compatible. I know some people, styles are always different. So definitely do your research. There's a ton of really awesome like brand builders out there. I don't know if I have a coach necessarily with marketing, but there are a couple really good agents out there doing some really good social media things. Katie Fisher of Origins Travel does really, really awesome with her marketing. So yeah, I don't have like a true coach though, unfortunately.
You brought up a really good point to look up people's social media and websites, and you can kind of see who hosted them and reach out to them is really great. We do have an educational component to our host agency that we bring in these elements about marketing. So this is something that's part of our branding lab that we do.
Yeah, it's huge. It can be so exciting. Also,
Yeah.
Someone just said, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and go organize. I love it.
Inspired.
I know, so inspired. Yeah. But yeah, and Hannah, you brought up a good point when you were presenting too about, with marketing, maybe go out or instead of doing it in-house, go find. So I think it is really important. There's so many people out there, especially just finding that brand, like you said, Robin, who's representing what the style is you want. So really cool. Um, Another question, so this for you, Robin, is what tool do you use to track tasks or your task management?
So originally we were using Trello when it was just me and Jennifer. And personally, I was tracking all my tasks in Google Calendar, but now we're a team of 7, which is mind blowing. So we are all in ClickUp right now. I feel like that's like one of the newest systems on the scene, and it's been working really well for us. It's got like Google Doc capability mixed with Trello, mixed with like the little like check off your to-do list type of capability. So it's very robust, a little overwhelming. I did have a like template. I purchased like a huge template block to actually get it up and running because it is beefy to try to build out by yourself. But we love ClickUp because you can assign it, you can set due dates, you can have like tons of notes inside of each tasks. So for business wise, I really love ClickUp.
That's cool. And Hannah, do you use anything at GTN for like
When she
task
said
management?
Trello, yeah,
Okay.
Trello was one of the ones that came up, like ClickUp. I'll have to bring that up because marketing
know.
uses a lot of systems like that. That'd be good to look into.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's
definitely worth a look.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, we use Notion here at Travify. Notion it can be pretty intense, but you can do like a Trello type board system and we'll do those. But one thing I do have to do a little plug here on Travify. So for Travify, we're actually releasing so if you're a beta tester, you have seen it, but if not, we will discuss it on during tomorrow's webinars. I think almost 2 out of the 3 it'll get discussed. But we have a task management feature coming in so you can assign them to like travelers and for yourself. Super cool. So stay tuned for that. That'll be really cool. Okay, a question for both of you is, are there any other resources like Facebook groups or anything else like that that you would recommend people getting into and checking out?
The broad question. I guess it depends on what specifically
Yeah, kind of what you would
what's
be
their
wanting.
focus, like what are they trying to focus on, and then I could guide them. I mean, as a host agency, we guide people to, really look into if a host agency is something that they're looking to be a part of, that they go and do their reviews like on host agency review site or something like that. So that would be one site that I could recommend
Yeah.
if that's something that you're looking into, to really know what's out there and who works for your needs, because it's not a all size fits one type of outfit. Everyone brings their own process when it comes to host agency. We all have our own setups, and you just need to know what works best for you. So that's one place I would say, just on the host agency level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
hostagencyreviews.com is awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I will say there is a Facebook group for everything. It's
Yeah.
really funny. We have like a community platform niche. It's $19 a month or something, but we had an Italy masterclass and we started a Facebook group that was just like Italy travel advisors planning Italy, because that's what our bread and butter was, and we wanted more information. Within a matter of like 5 days, it grew to like 800 advisors or something insane. So if you have like a specific thing, I'm positive there's one on like social media for travel advisors. I know there's a pretty robust one for Travel Joy, if that's like your CRM. There's like a couple like things like that. If like you have a specific question, I would Google like a group for travel advisors, like so-and-so travel advisors, and you're bound to find something.
You really are. Facebook groups, there's so many. It is so crazy. There's something. And yeah, I'm glad you brought up like the destinations, because we see a lot of those for just destinations in particular. So if you want to specialize in a certain location or place or or you have questions, that is a great option there. Another question here is, okay, so this is about CEO days. So for you, Robin, from Oscar is, asked, are these days about thinking tasks that you could improve in your business and then schedule that time to do it afterwards? Or are these days meant to actually get the things done?
Yes, well, it could be a mix of both. Like sometimes it is like big picture visionary. My latest CEO day we did with my business partner, and we roadmapped the rest of this year and all of the following year, which sounds crazy, but it did take a full day for us to like sit down and map out, like we're launching this on this date, and like the launch period will be this long, and then we'll roll out our new services on this date. And it was really freeing. So like that was kind of big picture visionary. But on other times, and it just depends, like Jen's about to go on maternity leave, so like that's why we're on like this big picture roadmap stage right now. But normally when we do CEO days, it will be a lot of like tasks for me, where I go into ClickUp and I update our Instagram metrics to ensure that like we're trending up and our growth is, continuing to grow, or looking at our financial roadmaps to ensure that we're hitting our financial goals for the month, and if we're not, what can we do differently? If we are, what have we done that's worked, type of thing. So it's a mix of both. It kind of depends where you're at with your business and what you need done. But yes, I do put them, typically I do at the end of the month, just because that's when things settle down a little bit for our business. But it could be weekly, you could do them quarterly if that's all that really works for you. It's kind of however is best.
And finding that what works for you, like you mentioned, it'll take some time to figure out what's working, and seasonality, you have to take into account that, and all of that
100%.
kind of stuff. Yeah. Another question here, and Hannah, maybe you'll be able to answer it if you know what the marketing team is using, but what is your favorite social media scheduling tool? So Robin, you were talking about social media, like scheduling stuff out. What are you using?
We use Planoly. I tried to switch to later.
Yeah.
They now post reels, but we went back to Planoly because they also now post reels as well. So yeah, Planoly has worked really well for us, but I know Later is another one that people really seem to love.
Yeah.
There's some familiar from our marketing team. I don't use them, so I'm not as familiar, but yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of both of those, because what's cool is with Planoly, isn't it, you can see it ahead of time. Like on Instagram, for example, you can see like what your feed is
you like see your grid, you see your map, you can put like little notes. So Jen is like the captions person, and I'm like the designing graphics because I'm on the brand design part of the business. So she'll, like, when she thinks of captions, she'll drop them in Planoly with like a note on the day that we want to talk about that, and then I'll come in with a graphic. So it's pretty collaborative too. If you ever do outsource eventually, I know that's always the first thing people kind of want off their plates is social media outsourcing. So it's always kind of a great tool. If you want to set it up in a way that like maybe somebody can take it over later on. I know somebody was talking about getting their kids involved and having them on social media, which is awesome, because I mean, who knows social media more than like a teenager these days?
Younger generation. Yeah.
Do a TikTok. That's the new thing. You're doing the
right.
TikTok.
I can't even.
I know TikTok is, yeah. So speaking of, in the podcast, the episode that we did before this was, I got someone who is really successful at TikTok, and it's very fascinating.
I mean, it honestly is really great for travel industry.
Yeah.
TikTok's a really great platform to think about using.
It is.
Well, everything is so visual, right? Like you want to inspire people to travel. The best way to do that is really get one of those like beautiful videos from your latest fam or latest trip up there, and it goes crazy. I was so against video at first too. I was like, I can't get behind reels. I'm not singing and dancing. But you got to feed the beast. So we've tried with it. Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm not singing and dancing. I feel you on that.
I can't.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is a question, this might be our wrap up question, but we'll see what comes in. But this goes to both of you. So what would you say is like one of the biggest mistakes that you see new advisors make when jumping into a new business? So definitely, like Hannah, when you were talking about all the different elements, is there something that people might spend the wrong amount of time doing one thing? Or is there something like Robin that you've learned while building your business? Like, what would you both say it could be one of the biggest mistakes, or just something to be aware of, a big, just, I don't know. Cause there's a lot of things that you can start with, and just, are there any mistakes that someone could make?
I think the biggest one that we see is just not really having a clear vision when you first start. Because it'll come out in other ways, and you'll get frustrated that the wrong clients are coming to you and the ones that you really don't want to build your business on. And when you're trying to build a business and your focus is diluted into trips that you're not really interested in planning, that's not your, your magic sauce or whatever you want to call it, then you can get frustrated and feel like you're on that hamster wheel. So I think just having really that deliberate focus to really at the very beginning have that strategy in place where you really are clear on your message, so other people are clear on what you're bringing and what value you're adding to the industry.
Yeah, I 100% echo that. I think a lot of what we see is like what Hannah just mentioned. You eventually like get to a point where you're like, these clients, like, how did they even get here? And a lot of people, they don't take the time to sit down and really think through their branding. A lot of people think that brand is just logo, but it comes into your messaging, your client experience, and really taking the time to shore up, like, who do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve them? And what's going to set you apart from the competition will put you light years ahead of just trying to wing it. And again, things will change. Like, this is in no way, none of these business plans are like a document that we never touch again, right? Like, even if you do sit down and you map out this roadmap and stuff, things are malleable, things change. Maybe you go from, I only did like all inclusives, and then I eventually the people I served turned into these Italy, European FIT people. So like my business messaging kind of changed, and like how my brand evolved in a way. So again, same with time blocking, like feel free to have like have a guide, but don't be so stringent that you can't bend when things require you to bend. Cause I mean, if you guys were around for 2020, we all bent a lot and we got better for it. But yeah, I think get clear exactly, like Hannah said, on your messaging, who you serve, and kind of your vision for your business, and then let it flow from there.
That's awesome.
I think a lot of seasoned advisors rebranded during the pandemic because it was a perfect time to reset and to really focus on what's important to them. And then also when the landscape of travel changed based on who was opening up when, they had to change a little bit and shift on who can they service right now, because the US is open. Let's do domestic right now. I'm in Europe. I'm Europe travel typically, but I'm going to work what works right now with my clients and in this space. So I think that entrepreneur mindset that you're constantly evolving and being open is going to keep you successful and set you apart for sure.
100%.
And I think that's also the entrepreneur mindset just got so many people in the industry, which is so cool. So all of you on here right now, you are doing well because you're trying to advance everything, and it's so awesome. And the travel is just, it's already booming. I mean, we're already seeing it, and it's been happening, and it's just going to continue to get even bigger. So great time.
In the weirdest way, COVID was probably the hardest year for travel, but it truly proved our worth. So any new agents coming in, like, you are in a really, really awesome, really exciting time to be in the industry. So kudos to you.
It is. So exciting. And thank you for making this very exciting too. I know everyone's feeling jazzed now after Hannah and Robin's presentations. This was so cool. And I'm going to just share my screen really quick, but mostly so I can play a little song. I forgot I had it like blasting. Hold on, sorry to everyone's ears. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to Hannah and Robin for joining us here today. This has been incredible. And this is just the first one of more webinar sessions coming up today and tomorrow. We're going to touch on, all that marketing stuff we've been talking about. We're also going to hear from some other industry veterans, and they're going to tell us what are they seeing? What are those best things you can be doing? So this was really amazing, and we're going to keep having some more good stuff. So thank you so much again, Hannah and Robin. It was awesome.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone. And hopefully we'll see you here soon. And the recordings will be on at newtravelagentbootcamp.com. So you can check those out just right after this. So thanks again, everyone. And maybe we'll see you here shortly. Okay, I'm going out now. See ya, everybody.
Bye.